fans. Welcome to the In-Between-Man podcast.
Where men can be men.
I'm serious. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about, should I consider learning how to speak female? And the answer to that question is 100% yes. So I'm thinking that I might make a little bit of a series out of this, but we'll start with this and we'll see what kind of traction we get on whether or not it's being well received by the YouTube community. But before I get started, let me say, please consider joining our private male-only Discord server where you can interact and engage with other like-minded men about topics like we're discussing here, or, playing video games or doing whatever. It's like a virtual man cave. And my goal is to, connect people and hopefully have similar discussions to like what we're having here on the podcast and beyond. I'm considering doing a live, but I'm getting distracted and I don't want to. So consider joining our private Discord server, male only. Okay. You can find all of our social media links at linktr.ee/theinbetweenman. That'll take you to a website that will have a breakdown of our store and have a breakdown of our Twitter account, our YouTube account, all that kind of stuff. And so please do me a favor. And if you want to learn more, check out those links. Okay. So today I've been thinking a lot about, my past relationship with my ex-wife and dynamics that unfolded during that marriage, and why I believe it's important for all of us to consider learning how to speak female. Because we men, when we communicate, our default expectation is if there's a problem, we're going to be talking about it. And if we're going to be talking about it, that means that I need a solution. With women, it's not always that same, and it's usually not. And what they are asking for or looking for from us is very different than what we think we know they want. All right? It's very, very different. And if I can help anyone understand this process before they get married or even while they're in their early stage of marriage, that's a huge thing. Because understanding what your job is when a woman is talking to you is very important. And so today, even though I don't have a female guest with me to confirm this kind of stuff, I really don't think you want to hear what women are actually saying. Like, you would rather not hear it from a woman. You'd rather hear it from a man. I mean, we're getting all these different opinions about how men are feeling from women. I'm figuring, hey, why not? Why don't I just get out there and just kind of give you a grassroots interpretation of how a man has examined and learned how to speak female. Okay? So let me just start off by saying this. When I was early married, maybe into my first couple years of marriage, I remember my wife would come into the kitchen and she would say, "Hey, Rennick, do you have a minute to talk?" And you're like, yeah, of course. Right? And so that means something, although you don't know what. But you're going into the conversation thinking that if she needs to talk, she's gonna need a problem solved. I'm here to tell you that if you don't know this, hear it now, okay? When a woman says that she wants to talk, 90% of the time, she wants you to listen, which means that you do not need to do anything, which is going to be hard because you're driven to understand the problem and solve it, okay? It's going to take effort from you to shut your mouth. And what I'm telling you is, if you like making love to your wife a lot, do not give her any feedback, okay? Do not give her any feedback. We're going to get to the feedback loop in just a second, but for the sake of this initial start of this podcast, I want you to think back to a time where you've heard, your wife, significant other, whoever it happens to be, say to you, hey, do you have a minute to talk? And so you're like, yeah. And, if your ex-wife or wife is anything like mine, she doesn't talk for a couple minutes, right? So in the first couple years of my marriage, we would sit down on the couch, right? She would have one corner, I would have another corner, and she would talk. And I'd just sit there like, okay, and listen. And she would talk about the details, how she was feeling, how angry she was, how upset she was, for like 45 fucking minutes, minimum, right? And what I'm saying to you is that early on in your marriage, you're going to be probably a little bit more open-minded to this concept of helping your wife, right? Listening to whatever she needs to talk about. So the first 6 months, the first 9 months, you're unwillingly going to have to endure. Do you want to have a talk conversations anywhere minimum 3 times a week? And it could go every day depending on the woman you've married. You know what I mean? And so you are going to be excited because she needs you to listen, and you're going to listen, and you're going to understand right now not to give her any feedback. Okay? Your job, your only job, is to listen. That's it. I want you to listen. In the beginning, you can listen to every word, but 6 months into this thing, you're going to just be frustrated. Why are you going to be frustrated? Because you don't have 45 minutes in the day, 35 minutes to just listen. That's not what you're there for. Okay? And you're going to probably end up skimming every third word. Kind of like when you read a book, right? Like when you want to go through a book fast and you want to get the point, you're going to read every third word. So all of the words within that sentence will give you an understanding of the context of that sentence, and you'll make a decision on whether or not you understand it or not. You know what I mean? And so that's what you need to do here. You need to listen to every third word, because if you're 6 months, 9 months into this thing and you're just like, she's going to ask you, are you listening to me? That's what she's going to say. And if you aren't listening to her and you're not able to recite back to her in a relatively quick way, in a summary way that you've been paying attention, that clock is going to start all over again. And now you're in for an hour and a half. And if you get up early, she's going to get mad and you're not going to get laid tonight. You know what I mean? It's just not going to happen. It's going to be bad. So make sure that in your first 6 months, 9 months of weathering the storm, right, that you are listening, okay? And the reason why you want to listen is because women are great communicators, and they are far more in touch with their inner voice, inner feelings about dynamics that may crop up at work, may crop up at the children's drop-off line, may crop up at the shopping, mart, whatever. Like they are going to be able to convey a level of sadness, a level of happiness, a level of empathy, right? Like these are all things that you don't want to know anything about. But what I'm saying to you is you can really help yourself by listening to her every third word express her feelings of emotion, whether it be all the ones that I just mentioned. Okay? That's a positive thing for you. All right? Don't write it off as something that's not important. You're learning here. You're learning how to speak female. So part of your learning is listening to every third word, having an understanding of what she's saying, okay? Connecting it to a specific emotion like empathy, sadness, anger, rage, whatever it happens to be, and being prepared for her to say to you, are you listening to me? And you can kick back whatever quick summary you feel is relevant And you'll get better at this, by the way. You'll be able to kick back whatever relevant summary you know that she needs to hear in order to be like, oh, okay, you are listening to me. That's a good thing. All right. So what usually happens at the end of 9 months of listening to 45 minutes of a lecture, okay, is that you start actually getting frustrated because you just want to be helpful. But, you got conference calls, you got shit to do that doesn't require 45 minutes or half an hour of your time every day. So what starts to happen is you're just like, shit, I have to listen to this. You're mad at the fact that you have to listen, even though you want to, and you're not providing any feedback. It's not how men think. It's not what we do. You're doing it because you want to support your wife, okay? And you're doing it so that you can understand how she goes through her emotions verbally. Women need to verbalize how they're feeling in order to understand really what emotions they're experiencing, okay? And you can help them do that by not doing anything and just repeating back to her what you've actually heard, okay? And there's usually right around the 9-month mark that you're going to be not in, listening shape. So you're going to come off as not really paying attention. Maybe you're listening to every 7th word. Maybe you're thinking about the conference call you got to get on. Maybe you're thinking about your softball game that you got to go play, that night for your team and how you lost to another team. Whatever you're thinking about. Maybe you're thinking about lug nuts on your fucking car that you're redoing. I don't care what it is, okay? But you're at a vulnerable spot where you don't have the patience for 45 minutes of conversation or half an hour of conversation. So you are going to not look the part. You're not going to be listening. And you're going to want to finally say something. You're going to want to say to her something that you would say to a man. And my God, if you do that, just be prepared for a lot of masturbating, okay? Because if you are listening and your wife has not given you permission to provide feedback, okay, and you give it to her, yeah, like that, you give it to her in a man way, like, honey, stop being a fucking pussy and just go tell her what you need to tell her. I can't do that. Well, then what the fuck? Then you go into this, well, what the fuck are you talking about it? I've been sitting in here for the last 6 months listening to you bitch about this girl, and I'm not saying anything. Are you going to do something about it, or are you just going to keep talking about it? Right? And then that's when everything explodes. And I think that it's at this juncture that men and women start to separate, because there's a communication gap that happens here that if you sustain for a long period of time, you're going to build up resentment. You're going to build up all kinds of negative feelings about your wife because you've had enough about listening to a 45-minute lecture that you can't listen to anymore. And you finally did what all guys do, is you gave her some male feedback, but she didn't ask for it, right? So now you're in trouble, all right? But it's okay. I'm glad you're in trouble. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to give you a solution to solve this, okay? Remember, this is about learning how to speak about female. I'm giving you solutions that you can actually try, okay? So stage 1, your job as men in your early marriage, whatever, listen, repeat, no feedback. Listen, repeat, no feedback, okay? Just do that. As long as you know what your job is, you can do that, and you're going to feel better. I'm telling you right now, you are going to feel a truckload better, okay? And then I'm telling you what's going to happen. This is happening next. You are going to be tired, like I've said, of 45-minute lectures that you're going to get frustrated and you're going to blow up at her. And you're going to blow up at her in a man way, and it's going to blow her mind. She's not going to know what to do. She's not going to understand why you're giving feedback to her when she didn't ask for it, and why you're frustrated because you've got 6 to 9 months of pent up feedback that you want to give this person in a male way, and you're letting it unload right now. Like, perfect example, right? Women are waves. Women are waves, like, and men are like rubber bands. And when they get to a point, they fucking snap, right? Your hand hurts. You're like, fuck. And then you scream at people. Okay? So you finally snapped. And she's off in her room. You're in your office masturbating to Pornhub, doing whatever you're doing. Both of you are mad. Okay? That's okay. All right? So now you guys you go apologize for giving her feedback. And this is what you can say. You could say, honey, listen, I want to apologize for giving you feedback in a dynamic where you didn't ask for that. Say these exact words. I shouldn't have done it, and I'm sorry. That's it. That's all you need to say. I shouldn't have given you feedback. I know you wanted me to listen, okay, and I apologize. I take it back. Let me buy you an ice cream. But you got to be sincere. You can't be a jerk about it, Like pretend it's the last time you're going to get laid. Babe, listen, I'm honestly really, I'm sorry. I didn't think about it. I was having a rough day, so-and-so at work, so-and-so over here. I stubbed my toe in the truck, whatever. I should not have given you feedback. I should not have reacted the way that I did, and I'm sorry. Please, can you forgive me? Can we go out to Burger King tonight? Please? Right? And then she'll come around. Okay? So now that you've set the stage for that, okay, and let's assume that you're on good footing with your wife now. And I'm sorry about this glare with my glasses, but I need to have, sorry. Anyway, so now what you've graduated to another step and you didn't even know it. All right, these are facts. You've graduated to a next step and you didn't even know it. Okay, so because you've been listening, you've been listening to how she describes her feelings of empathy. You've been listening to her describe her feelings about anger. You've been listening to her, right? And if you got a loud New Yorker, she's going to get up and she's going to be like, fuck it, I'm going to kill that guy. You know what I mean? Like, she, depending on how she responds to these different emotions, anger, frustration, she's going to let it go. And you just need to prepare for that to happen. Some people are like, some guys might be like, whoa, what's going on? But each woman is going to do it differently. All right. And depending on your woman, you need to adjust to understand that whatever she's talking about has nothing to do with you. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And your only job is to listen and repeat. That's it. Okay. We've been eviscerated because you've given her feedback without asking. Okay. Now, a week has gone by and you come in from work and you hear the dreaded, babe, do you have a couple minutes maybe after dinner where we could sit down and talk? And you want to say, are you out of your fucking mind? But instead, you say, yeah, babe, I actually really do. I can't do that. But before we do that, this is where you're going to the next stage. Before we do that, all right, do you need me to listen? Or do you want to give me feedback? And she's going to go, I don't know. Right? Do you want feedback from me? Which is confirmation that she's tearing off this scab on her heart and that you need to be sensitive to that. Okay? You can't give her man feedback. Man feedback doesn't work. So part of this process of understanding what she's saying is going to get you acclimated to the types of words and things that you need to say to her when she says, yeah, as a matter of fact, I do want your feedback. Because if you come at her with the man approach, she's not going to do it again. All right? So you got to be kind and you got to be caring. Remember, you're her husband. You want to be supportive. And this is a way that I'm telling you that you can be supportive. Okay? So you say, babe, I'm more than happy to listen. Okay? Like, do you want me to listen? Because you want to know your job. Or do you want to give me feedback? And so, because you've never asked her that question before, she's got to think about it. And if she says to you, I need you to listen, you're like, fucking great. I really only have to listen to every third word that she's saying. And I got to be able to retain enough knowledge to provide feedback. And you're good. Or she says, as a matter of fact, I'd love your feedback. Now, you absolutely have to pay attention to every word. Okay? You have to pay attention to every word. But here's the kicker, guys. Here's the kicker. Here's the kicker that's going to save you. And you're going to feel so much better about this dynamic going forward because you haven't understood it and you haven't known how to set up a boundary because you're a loving husband and you want to be there for your wife. Now you're going to say this, babe, I am more than happy to sit down and listen to you, but I can only give you 10 minutes. Can you do what you need to share with me in 10 minutes? Sometimes it's 10 minutes. Sometimes it's 15 minutes. Okay? And if you get yes, all right, you break out a fucking stopwatch and you put it right next to yourself while she's talking and you turn that fucker on. Maybe not while she's watching, but turn it on so that you know at the end of 15 minutes, you're out of Dodge. Okay? Because that way, A, you've done your job. B, you've confirmed or listened, but now you're in Division 2 now, where you're now getting your wife to allow you to give her feedback and not male feedback. Okay? Not go punch her in the tit, hun, and stop being such a cunt. Don't say that. Do not say that. Okay? This is where you need to really think and listen to not only her, but the environment that she's giving to you. I need your freaking eyes wide open. Okay? This is a time for learning. You're going to go through it anyway, whether you like it or not. I'm just trying to tell you what you need to pick up on. And if you've already got it figured out, then don't listen to the podcast. I don't give a shit. But this is for guys who are struggling because, they look at their clock and they're like, I spent 8 hours listening to lectures this week and I got nothing out of it, So now you need to listen to everything that she says. And when she says to you, right, what do you think? You go back to what you already had been doing before. Confirming, reminding, and confirming. Okay? Reminding and confirming. I heard you say that when you went to the shopping store and you were buying groceries and you got the prunes and the raisins, and then all of a sudden, Josie showed up from the softball team that our kids are on, and she asked you if that was a new pair of jeans that you were wearing. And you said that they were, and she gave you that look like, fucking, you look fat, bitch. You know what I mean? Like that look. She didn't say that, but it was that look. But she's sharing that with you, and you're repeating it back to you. So I heard you say that Josie said that, asked you whether or not those jeans were new, and kind of like rolled her eyes, and you got upset about it. I hear what you're saying. I would have been upset about it too. You know what I mean? So you confirm what you hear, and then I heard you say that you felt like you were being disrespected, and I would have responded the same exact way that you are right now, babe. I would have been angry too. Shit. If I were you, I probably would have told her to put the ice cream and fucking ho-hos back. Who's she talking about? You know what I mean? But you have to be able to repeat back to her in a way that she is able to hear it. And your only form of communication is male, right? So don't use that. Use what you've learning how to speak female in the first 6 to 9 months, and you'll gradually get better at it. Okay. And if you provide her some feedback that she hears, right, and she likes, she's going to be more prone to probably do it again. But you're covered now because you're not doing 45 minutes anymore. You're doing 10 or 15 minutes. That's it. All right. And you can stamp that on the ground and let her know that that's the deal. And now you're doing what you're supposed to do. You're providing some emotional support. Why would you fucking come in here when I'm fucking recording this podcast? I mean, this is my son that I'm talking about, that I told him not to come in while I'm on the phone because my dog's in here doing this podcast, and he opens the door. Wait, what time is it? It's probably Dalton. Was that you, Dalton? Anyway. Get a man, get some fucking privacy, please. So, you are now on a journey with your wife that is going to be beneficial for you and for her, okay? And now you're understanding how to speak female. And part of that process is for you to also understand that it is 150 motherfucking percent fact, okay, that you can do the same thing that your wife is showing you. The only difference is that she has been told from the beginning of her childhood to express her feelings and to be emotional and to have empathy and to understand the emotions on both sides, okay? You have not. I have not. We've been told, oh, you're crying at the hockey game? Freaking wipe up those tears, son. I'm going to bitch slap you in the car. Stop being a pussy. And so you're like, boop. You just swallow it down and you stuff it. And then when you're like 12 years old, you go and you cry to your dad about something and he gives it to you again. So like you have no practice or even process of how to do that. All right? You just don't. So, and we'll get into this later on, but you need to absorb every bit of information. Like really use the time that you have now to listen to your wife, because whether you know it or not, you can really learn a lot from her in the area of communication and emotions. Because if we stuff, and this will be on another podcast, but if we stuff at 8 years old, emotional garbage that we've had for 40 years. Hey! What is that? Oh, that's Gavin. That's Gavin threw me some M&Ms. Gavin came home. Got some M&Ms. Anyway, sorry, Gav. So, what she's doing for you is basically allowing you, if you want to, right? I want to get right up in your face, all right? Listen to me when I tell you this. If you're a man, okay, and you're a masculine man, even if you're a beta man, you have stuffed feelings deep down in your gut, okay, at a very young age. And you have refused to acknowledge or even see what those are, okay? Those are fucking toxic. Those are toxic. And if you don't start to consider that it is a healthy process for you to share those with either a priest, a fucking therapist, whoever, okay, you are going to remain toxic. Okay? You are going to remain toxic. And I don't want that for you. Okay? I've been posting a lot of DJ Shipley comments just for this fucking reason. Okay? So practice by learning from your wife what it is that she's telling you about her emotions. I'm not asking you to, don't drop everything on somebody, but like, we'll work through that later on. We'll have another series about that. But that's how you learn how to speak female. If you have any questions, don't subscribe. Remember, I don't want any subscribers. I don't want anyone sharing this message. I don't want anybody liking these messages, because that's an act of being vulnerable. You know what I mean? Like, if you like my stuff, that means that you're willing to consider it, and someone could figure out that that's an act of vulnerability, and you don't want to be a pussy. You know what I mean? So don't share it with anybody. Of course, I'm kidding, but I'm trying to prove a point. we are at a stage right now where I'm going to be talking about this shit a lot. And what we're going to do is we're going to learn how to speak female. We're going to learn more about what our jobs were before the woke world and what they are now, and some of the things that we might want to have a say in going on, what's going on, and move in from there. Okay? So before I go, I want to give you this one plug. All right? So I've started a Etsy channel. Okay? And it's an Etsy store. It's like at the in-betweenman. It's at the I have it as my shop in the description on my link tree. But I want to show you what these cards are, okay? Because they're cheap, all right? And they're very effective from a man's perspective. So I have 4 different cards, and I'm going to show them to you. Oh, shit. Which one? Okay. So you and everybody know that if you get a card for your wife on any given day, and especially it's an emotional card, you're good to go. That's not what this card is, okay? This card is for someone that you go out on a date with before your actual date, okay? You're going to have one of these cards in front of you, and it's going to look something like this, okay? So if your date goes well and everything is awesome, don't give her this card. Do not give her this card, okay? Because in this card is some male brutal honesty, okay? So the names of these cards that I have right now, if anybody grew up watching 90s porn, there was a guy by the name, he's a fucking legend. His name is Peter North, and he's a legend. He can ejaculate like spackle. It's fucking the most incredible thing you've ever seen. And it's always got an arc to it. I mean, it's just whatever. If you think I'm gay, fine. I don't give a shit. But my point is that these are Peter, P-E-D-E-R, North, emotionally vulnerable, everyday greeting cards. Okay? And so what you do when you open it up is there's Peter North. He's behind American flag. And what does it say? It says, I was thinking about you today, and I wanted to let you know I lied to you. You really do look fat in those jeans. And then you have like, wait a minute, right over here, you have like your Navy SEAL guy who's like, plumber's crack, right? And what's great about this card is that you don't even actually have to sign it. There's like a Peter North initials sign here, and you just sign it, okay? So you would think that that would be an epic card to give to someone that's asked you to buy 5 fucking meals for their kids, okay? We'll go into that later. But what's also great about this card, which is sort of a nonchalant way, is that the back side of it has a spiritual message from Peter North himself, okay? And it says this. I gotta put my glasses on. Like God himself, you are perfect. You're incapable of ever making any mistakes. And since I'm not perfect, this will be the last time you ever see or hear from me again. Love, Peter North. Okay? You probably can't see that. But I'll put, then I have other ones, right? So there's this one. This one says, I was thinking about you today and want to let you know that 50 Shades of Grey never happened. And Prince Charming is homeless. That spiritual message is, God trusts all of mankind to practice love and tolerance for others. You have mastered the art of emotional manipulation and find something wrong with everything I do. Have fun changing the flat tire. Love, Peter North. I'm going to keep going. There's actually 4 of them. I only have 3. And then there's this one. Okay. The Peter North emotionally vulnerable everyday greeting card collection for men that they bring on a date for the first time, and give to the date if she's being an absolute unrealistic. Okay? All right. So this one, you open it up. We got Peter in here too. But this one says, I was thinking about you today, and I wanted to let you know you really need to brush your teeth. And my guy's saying, damn, girl. All right. But the spiritual message on the back is even better. Since God's love and grace is unconditional and yours isn't, knowing your love for me is only based on my ability to provide financially, I wish you all the best in your career as a teacher. Love, Peter North. All right. So if you like these cards, do me a favor. If you buy all 4, you'll get free shipping. I think I don't even know how they are, but you might spend $20 on 4 cards. And they come with envelopes, and you can keep them in your glove compartment. Hide them in your registration. And so, you have them available for when you go out on your next date. But that's all I got, guys. I hope this was helpful. Don't let me know if it was, because I don't need your feedback, because I don't want you to be vulnerable. And that's about all I got. Oh, the other thing I did want to tell you is I have I'm actually going to tell you that. All right. Listen, I'm out of here. I'll see you guys on the next one. Where men can be men.